All right, YouTube, we're here, ChroNoSo, mid-episode, and I'm with my good buddy Mark Poirier. Mark, how's Canada?
Right now, looking outside here in Hamilton, a little cloudy, a little cool, but otherwise, not too bad, considering
Yeah,
all the things that are going on in the world right now.
same. Massachusetts is cloudy, cool, and can't make up its mind. Hot, cold, hot, cold.
Yeah,
But
same with us here.
yeah, it's like we're a fucking 61-year-old woman and can't figure it out, right? But we're
Right.
here mid-episode to talk about Rugged Ronnie Garvin and Mr. Perfect from SummerSlam Fever, a primetime special, just a prelude to SummerSlam, and they kind of showcase a bunch of guys. Now, what do you think the last match before this on the SummerSlam Fever was? Can you guess?
It's not, I guess, as I can remember looking at the list, because I know it involves somebody very close and near and dear to my heart, especially in this wonderful city of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and that would be, of course, Canada's greatest athlete, Iron Mike Sharp. I'm not wearing my Iron Mike Sharp shirt at the moment, but I know he did take on Jake Snake Roberts in the match previous to the match we're about to review
Why
here.
I brought it up.
I knew you did, and you set it up perfectly. But yes, one of Hamilton's finest sons, Mike Sharp. Big Hamilton history wrestling in the city, but and he's part of it. His dad and his uncle were a big tag team in Japan and in San Francisco, and Mike carried on somewhat of a tradition, being a jobber for a long time in the WWF. But yep. But sadly, we're not here to talk about Hamilton or the great Iron Mike Sharp. We're here to talk about another great man, I think, in the one Rugged Ronnie Garvin, as a bit of a gimmick that I have for ChroNoSo, as you all know, leading with a lot of Ron Garvin matches here in the WWF. And I think we have a short one, but a pretty decent one here today with the then Intercontinental Champion, Mr. Perfect, with his perfect manager, Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yes, it is about 6 minutes. It's funny. Iron Mike Sharp too. He actually trained the guy had on last episode, Ace Starling, and I think he just hung around while Ace trained. One of those things. I think that was the story that Ace gave us, right?
A very Hamilton move of him. So I do appreciate just Mike hanging around and getting credit, if you will, for doing that. So props to the late great Iron Mike Sharp for that one with Ace Starling.
Yeah, back to back Iron Mike Sharp references here on ChroNoSo and YouTube. So we have a lane. If it's not the Bolsheviks, it's Iron Mike Sharp now. So, all right, 6-minute match, and it was a Rugged Ronnie Garvin match. When I saw this on the list, I thought there was no other guy to talk about better than you with this. And Ronnie's getting to the end of his WWF run here in the summer of '90. So we're running out of Garvin matches to go over. But this was a Garvin versus Perfect match, but this was a Rugged Ronnie Garvin match if there ever was.
Absolutely. Very, I know we say with wrestling today, it seems very choreographed and things like that. And I know people, shit on the Bucks and Will Ospreay for it feels like a dance almost. But
yeah.
And that's great for this time of era. But back then, this just felt like a fight, and that was right up Ron Garvin's alley. With his chops and those jumping headbutts that he does, and it just it almost felt like in a way they were. Yeah, and it felt like a shoot at times. You know what I mean? Perfect just went out and grabbed him by the chin, and then Garvin did the same thing. It was just like they looked mad at each other. And hey, who knows? Maybe they were. Maybe they didn't like some of the things, but it felt like a fight, and it was really enjoyable for the time that they had.
It's interesting too, because in the next episode is going to be SummerSlam, and Perfect, who just won the IC title about 2 months ago. Tornado is going to face him in the beefcake spot, right? So the plan's the plan, and it was interesting that they had a lot of preludes in this match when you listened to it here, especially when they had here's the unbelievable towel throw, by the way. I had to capture this in the entrance with unbelievable smoothness. Whatever.
And he still does the gum too, just before he gets into it with Ronnie as well. He does the gum smack out as well, which, unbelievable. He was incredible.
Yeah, so pretty much Vince was painting a picture where Bobby was kind of give Perfect like a game plan and a script, right? And it was unconventional coming into this match where they kept preluding to Perfect being a technician and whatnot. But from the upstart, like we look at here, he's getting into a slugfest, and he's going into enemy territory and having like a Rugged Ronnie Garvin type of match. So it was interesting that McMahon was playing into Perfect, playing to Ronnie Garvin. So what do you think? He tried to test Perfect? What do you think the psychology of that was, really?
Maybe they thought that Tornado was going to be more of a brawler type of
Yeah.
fight than they're going used to. So I think it was part of, like you said, Brain was trying to get him in the mode for what he's going to be doing, shortly against Terry Von Erich at SummerSlam. And I mean, there was nobody better than Ron Garvin. But it felt like maybe Perfect was starting to get, like, he got frustrated. He bailed out a couple times,
Yeah.
to kind of like, okay, settle down. Like, I know this is not my style of match, but I mean, I gotta, he got cut in his lip or his mouth or something at one point too. And Bobby Heenan tried to settle him down. And so I think it fit to what, and there's a picture there you see with them talking things over. And I think it just fit into the story they're trying to tell, that Perfect is going to have to get ready to face Tornado. So now they need to meet this challenge head on.
And like, if it's a football game, right, we got to work on our pass game, because the next team we're going to face, we're going to be able to have to throw that ball to win that game, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of felt like this was, and I like that. It's interesting because if you ever watch Perfect's freaking squash matches, he just goes in there and he's a technical wizard and he throws all these jobbers around and so on and so forth. So for Bobby to kind of be a little prelude to be like, all right, you need to expand your horizon to beat the Texas Tornado. It was interesting psychology kind of leading into this match and into the structure. But I thought the structure was awesome because Perfect is a bumping fool and Garvin throws phenomenal hands of stone, right? The offense is incredible. The chops are incredible. And I love that Perfect looked phenomenal throwing all these chops and whatnot too. So it was like a really fun, stiff presentation to kick off this match.
Yeah, he was definitely holding his own. Like, I mean, he did bail a couple times, but he was laying the wood in there with one of the hardest hitters in the business at the time in Ron Garvin, and he didn't go for the technical stuff, which was great to, like you said, leading into the Tornado match. So to see him hold his own here leading up to his next defense was, a smart move in the psychology of things in kayfabe and not kayfabe, just to showcase that he can handle this going into the SummerSlam.
And then we have the headbutt, and then which leads to the monkey roll, which is an incredible spot that Garvin always does. But it just works so perfect with athletic, perfect. Like, it was just phenomenal, right? And it was like really, honestly, it might have been a 3 count, but it was a 2.9.
It was very close. Yeah, very close. They could have. I mean, obviously they weren't going to beat Perfect here, but I mean, it leading up to where we know it led up to, it could have set the stage for something. But I mean, obviously, that was not how they were going to do that. But I mean, it would have been a cool thing to do. Ronnie's here. Perfect going down for a great bump. Just the selling of, he was incredible. Just with Ronnie with the jabs, like he would those right hand jabs or the jumping headbutt that he would do, and then that unnecessary splash to make a cover, and then you said the monkey roll there, and
Sure
and
this an Irish whip into a right hand.
Yeah, and like, who does that, right? You don't
Look
see
at this still right here. If you're not on YouTube, go and seek it out. This is like an unbelievable still where Perfect just like dead man flying to the floor after a awesome right hand. But yeah, it was cool to see Perfect go back to the well constantly, because the game plan's the game plan, right? And we got to sharpen our skills and get ready for SummerSlam. So it was really, really cool. And then you see Ronnie Garvin here with like an abdominal fucking attack with like a headbutt or whatever he's got going on here.
Was just beating the hell out of Perfect, and I don't know if it was just like he in the kayfabe here was like, well, Perfect had to figure out what to do to counter and to, and he catches a short knee at one point and to Garvin, and as we go into the finish here, so you want to go ahead, and there it is. So if you want to go ahead and live the finish, because the finish was awesome, so go ahead.
All right, so pretty much what it is Garvin is in his bag with all these strikes and really wearing down Perfect, and then he gets greedy and he goes for an abdominal stretch. Or like he goes for a wrestling suplex, right? And then Perfect.
He has a front face lock on. It looks like it's going to be a suplex at least, or just holding him in a front face lock. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny that it's like, all right, does Perfect lure him in to veer away from the strikes and the arsenal of attack like that, and then when he catches him in a wrestling maneuver where Perfect is honed and crafted and in his element, he finally gets him, and he's like, "Oh, I'm in my element." Boom, perfect plex. 1, 2, 3. So it was really smart, and it didn't really it played true to all their characters, but it really was a great layout and made this 6-minute match incredibly enjoyable.
Yeah, it kind of looked like Perfect was going to block and maybe do a small package, but instead he hooked him snap. Like, I don't think I've ever seen him do a snap perfect plex like that ever, and maybe he was the only time he ever did it. But it was like an incredibly smooth transition to get into from Garvin's front face lock to whatever he was playing to the crowd kind of thing, and then boom, perfect, hooked him and a flash pin and got the 1-2-3, and kind of escaped a little bit here, the skin of his teeth, heading into a big matchup on pay-per-view with SummerSlam coming up.
Yeah, and in the afterwards, you see Heenan be like, "Whoa, we were not ready for that. We have to kind of really get ready." And it was funny because Bobby would clutch the IC title the whole match, kiss it, caress it.
Yeah.
And Vince would be like, "What's he up to with that thing?" So it's kind of definitely a prelude to him potentially losing it at SummerSlam. But like, look at here, post-match, Perfect was in an absolute dogfight. Bobby knew it, he knew it, and he escaped in. He was true to himself and relied on the wrestling to escape the win.
Yeah, I agree. And I just had one question. I don't know if we didn't touch on it. Maybe you noticed it or not. Was Jesse Ventura talking in the beginning when Perfect was coming out, but then there was no commentary? Because I know he's gone. He quits. But I swear I heard Jesse's voice during the beginning of this match. Maybe they had that canned and then Vince re-recorded it, because there's no Jesse at all during this. And I know he's gone, like probably by the time this airs. But I swear on, stack of Bibles, if I have it, that I hear Ventura's voice on Perfect's entrance, and then you don't hear him at all, because as we know, here in the 2025, that Jesse quits due to his
payout or whatever,
royalties issue with the Coliseum videos and all that. So he's not at SummerSlam, but he quits in between here. So I think that Vince redid the commentary sans Jesse, but maybe they forgot to take out the one part there. But just a little tidbit, maybe for you fans out there want to sneak that out.
Easter deep dive. Let us know in the
very
comments.
Deep dive. It is a stupid thing by me to bring up, but it was just something I wanted to mention and show that I'm a super nerd. So yeah, go ahead there.
Excellent. And then you kind of Garvin, who was in control pretty much for the majority of the match, kind of in a crestfall here, being like, "Motherfucker, why did I go for that wrestling move when I was just wearing him down and I had him where I wanted him?" Right. Yeah. So it was a master class through and through, and this is how you get to a 3 1/4 match in this era, right? I thought it was.
I had a 3 1/4 too. Yeah.
Honestly, maybe 3.5. You want to twist my arm, but it was incredibly worked. It was executed. There was no wasted moment. There was a decent amount of stalling, but it played into everything. And Perfect's bumps and everything were so incredible. This is like peak athleticism from Perfect too as well. He knows the Perfect character. Character-wise, he's in with Bobby, and he's really meshing extremely well. He's over arrogant, which is going to cost him next month, right? So I think Perfect is kind of in the midst of his prime here. He's still athletically great. His back's not really an issue yet. So, and you have Garvin on the tail end, and they're working to his strengths too. So overall, fuck it, 3.5. I thought it was very good.
3 1/4. Absolutely. You could probably twist my arm too, but yeah, Ronnie Garvin obviously
Perfect. And
we are Mark. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Ronnie Garvin, we know this is the tail end, and he could, stop dyeing his hairs. He's continued that here as well. He could have, easily just said, gives a crap, I'm not doing anything. But at least, he was a professional, and he worked this really good short TV match with Perfect, and it showed his strengths, and that he could still be an asset to the company, or as I mentioned our last video here with Sean Kidd, that it's kind of, this is the end of his almost full-time run in professional wrestling at the end of with the WWF here. So, but he still had gas in the tank, I felt, in this match. So kudos to the one and only rugged Ronnie Garvin on this one.
No, obviously Perfect was creating a lot of the movement and the excitement in the match, but Garvin's, his offense still looked incredible. His strikes looked great, and his chops were fucking awesome. And the footwork wise, he was keeping pace with him. So yeah, Garvin definitely still has a lot left here in mid-90. Interesting. Is he done here? Is this the last Garvin match? Should we do a eulogy or what?
No, I think there's one more with Haku in the future. Okay. Somebody can fact check us on YouTube and on the comments, but in my mind, I think there's a Haku TV match, maybe on PrimeTime, that is near the end of the year. Well, we're gonna be away from that, but I think there's still at least one more piece of Ron Garvin magic, maybe to come out here on ChroNoSo before the end.
All right, awesome. Well, we have a stop with the Orient Express and Shane Douglas as a jobber in a Sunny Blaze, I think it is, coming up next. Yes. So let's throw to that, Mark. Mark, it was great always, and thanks for jumping on the YouTube. And if you're not on YouTube, go find the rest of the podcast so you can get ready for SummerSlam.
Thank you.